Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Coming up tonight, 3 murder suspects are captured. Meanwhile, the Minister of National Security says there's no easy fix for crime. And a psychologist offers tips for making the best out of virtual learning. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, 3 murder suspects have been captured a day after police issued wanted flyers for them. The trio include a 31-year-old man of Nassau Village, a 28-year-old man of Kemp Road, and a 22-year-old man from Montel Heights. Police say they are still on the hunt for an 18-year-old 2nd Street resident. With a recent spate of murders this past week, National Security Minister Marvin Dame says there's obviously no quick fix to crime. Dame says the fact of the matter is officials will always have to tweak their crime-fighting strategies. Jasmine Brown reports.
There's no quick fix to this problem, but you will see, and hopefully when the commissioner makes his crime review, you will see. I can show you since coming into office a downward trend in crime.
Dames has said some of the 6 murders that took place in the first week of the new year were domestic related. The spate of murders follows last year's murder count of 74, the lowest seen in the Bahamas since 2008. While incidents remained low compared to the previous years, there was a notable uptick in murders in the last quarter, with 11 recorded in December alone, 5 in the last 3 days of the year. There was a 22% reduction in murder in 2020 when compared with the year before, according to the National Security Minister.
I can show you a bar chart with serious crimes continuing to trend downward. Every time there's an incident, remember, we're in the social media era. Every time there's an incident, it magnifies it and it ratchets up the level of concern, and rightfully so. And so it kind of impacts on the fear of crime, all right? And we understand that. That's the world that we're living in. But, last year, and the commissioner will bear this out next week, we had a 22% drop in homicides. The lowest figure in almost 15 years, okay? All right, we had a 42 or 45, I think it was a 42% drop in armed robberies. Significant, almost by half. And then when you look at the crimes against properties like the house break-ins, continue to go downward.
He said the government has taken a multi-pronged approach to the issue of crime.
We're going to need more law enforcement, okay? Like I said, we're at this point not overnight. This is decades of neglect that we're reaping. And so you can imagine these things would have manifested itself over decades. It ain't going to take a year or 2 to get rid of it. There will be times where you have a spate. You may have 1 or 2 homicides. The police now will have to react to that and kind of look at what triggered that and find a way to close it. They've been good at that. None of these homicides this year have been domestic-related matters.
New Providence and Grand Bahama, the 2 most populous islands in the Bahamas, have been under curfew since March. However, Dames has said there is no evidence to conclusively say the decrease in the murder count was the result of the curfew and other restrictions implemented by the Prime Minister over the last 9 months to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the Bahamas. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
A reform gang leader who has authored books on gang culture in the Bahamas says a more comprehensive approach is needed to truly solve the country's violent crime problem.
There's a serious chance that if you go to prison, you're going to become a career criminal.
Founder of the Hope Center, Carlos Reed, says crime and gang violence is still a big concern despite murder stats that show a downward trend. He's calling on government to invest more in social programs that will prepare young men to be productive citizens.
We need to spend more money in preventative programs to help prevent persons from getting into this system, because the statistics shows that there's almost 80% chance that if you get into the system, you ain't getting out.
There were 74 murders in 2020, down 22 from 2019's 96. But most of the year was spent under strict curfew restrictions, including lockdowns. Government supporters say murders were trending down before the pandemic, but Reid says the current state of affairs should still cause alarm.
We're trying to fix the street, but we need to fix the system to be able to govern or manage the street. And successive leaders have come in, right? And we fail to look at the situation. The system is broken.
Reid says gang retaliation is a major factor too. He says young boys join gangs to find a sense of family.
A lot of what these young people are looking for in their biological family, they're not getting. So what they do is they connect themselves with a family that could give them respect, love, appreciation, that could support them, that could protect them. And I believe that in all of our lives, we would like to be in situations like that. So when we have young leaders that are offering like the things that the biological family should offer, it attracts like young people.
President of Families of All Murder Victims, Candy Gibson, is making a plea to police officers not to release murder suspects' IDs prior to them being charged. She wants to talk to senior officials about it, as she thinks it may violate the presumption of innocence.
When a loved one get killed, we just want someone to, I've been there. You just want someone to blame so you can know who to start pointing fingers, who to start throwing your darts and shit so you want to know, you understand me? But at the end of the day too, the police job is to serve and protect. We can't put people's lives out there if we don't know if the investigation hasn't been done as yet. We don't know if you keep their picture, you arrest them, their mouth shut, keep that. Now when they go in the court, that's media coverage. You can't have the police doing the investigation and plus they're being a reporter too. You gotta choose what side they want to be on.
Gibson fears that the publication of wanted flyers puts an unnecessary target on the backs of sometimes innocent people.
Do your investigation. You lock up Candy Gibson for this. Do the investigation. Candy Gibson, let Candy walk the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Shame, and go to court and charge her. That's media time. But when you do it before it even get out as Candy Gibson, everybody and see Candy Gibson face, with respect, they come for Candy in a family, man. Come, we have to do things different. It's 2021, man. We asking the police to do a better job. Not to say that they're doing a bad job, but we asking them to be more professional in their job. You arrest a person, their mugshot should not be on social media as yet.
Still to come on our news, the hotel union blasting some employers, plus LPIA execs, hopeful for 2021. Stay with us.
Happy Foods, Happy Foods, 242, 242, Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Food, 242, food galore just for you. This ain't no talking show, it's an eating show. Sasha Laurel is the host of Happy Foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy Foods, 242, food galore.
Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union President Darren Woods says it appears some employers are taking advantage of provisions provided by the emergency order. Employers have a 30-day window after the order expires to decide if they want to bring back their full staff complement or send some home for good.
It is a twofold concern, right? Our contract provides for it, that's one, and the law provides for it. Again, the emergency order, the employers are hiding and using it to their benefit because the order suspends redundancy, but the employer is at his will deciding, well, I'll make this group of people redundant at this time, even though the order suspends it.
Labor Director John Pinder says D-Day is coming when employers will have to make that tough decision. There are several hotel properties with employees still on furlough.
And we call on the authorities to speak out. Because if the order suspends it, whether I want to do it or they want it or not, it cannot happen. It should not happen based on the law. So when we get to the day, the only thing is that we can ensure is that whatever Kyle is entitled to, he gets that. Because the law says it can happen, the order is out of the way, our contract provides for it.
Lyndon Pinley International Airport is optimistic that 2021 will be a better year for air travel after the global industry took a hit over the past year. Vice President of Marketing and Commercial Development at NASA Airport Development Company, Jan Knowles, says in the midst of the pandemic, LPIA positioned itself as an airport making a difference in the country and the region, being named Airport of the Year by Caribbean Journal for 2020.
The many achievements at LPIA in the face of the pandemic certainly speaks to the resilience of our team. And as we approach the new year, we are cautiously optimistic that we will begin to steadily recover from the devastation of 2020.
Caribbean Journal describes LPIA as a Caribbean leader, well-run, exceptionally clean, and an important hub for exploring the myriad island destinations across the Bahamas. Noel says that distinction was the result of hard work by all airport stakeholders. Meanwhile, she notes that 2020 was also a good year for LPIA as the airport received its first level carbon accreditation by the Airports International Council in November 2020.
LPIA also made strides to reduce its environmental impact and towards its goal to become a carbon neutral and fully transformed airport by the year 2050.
The airport carbon accreditation is a 6-level program specific to the aviation sector. According to NAD, LPIA's level 1 achievement means that the airport has mapped out its carbon footprint to classify and track the airport's annual carbon sources and emissions. Coming up in our news, second homeowners on Grand Bahama applauding government's COVID response, and later, a psychologist offers advice on how to make the best out of virtual learning environments.
Hey Rev customer, did you know that you can change and add multiple credit or debit cards to your online payment? Simply log into my.rev.bs, sign into your My account, click Pay Now, then enter your card details, and click Save to File. It's that simple. We are committed to providing you with excellent, reliable service no matter what. Stay connected with Rev, anywhere, anytime.
Welcome back. Curfews, lockdowns, and an endless list of COVID-19 protocols is no bother for several second homeowners in Grand Bahama who said they feel the government has handled the pandemic better than other countries. Jillian Gray has that.
I'm glad that there have been so much caution and restrictions, because compared to the U.S., compared to England, I think our numbers are low.
Poppy Chitwood has been living in Grand Bahama for over 6 years. She moved from New York City, which at one point during the pandemic had more deaths than any other U.S. state. She said when compared to other places around the world, the Bahamas is doing well in the fight against the coronavirus.
I think we're doing it right because the masks are enforced, but we're also fortunate with good weather that we can be outside to eat. I know it was a struggle in the beginning, but I think they found the right balance.
Canadian couple Chester and Donna Sharp agree. The pair have been visiting the Bahamas for over 2 decades and decided to spend their quarantine time in the Bahamas. Chester, a cancer survivor, is in remission, and the couple said they feel safer here than in Canada. It was a sentiment shared by another Canadian couple who added that the restrictions are needed.
We're in lockdown. I think we're safer here than we are back home right now in Nova Scotia as far as the COVID and stuff. I mean, we've got fresh air and sunshine.
We just feel a lot safer here. Yeah.
And I think Canada's not doing so well right now. We're from Ontario. They're in lockdown, right, because their numbers are climbing drastically, right? So I think here, all of the right things were done at the right time and keeping us all safe here.
Mike and Deborah Randall say they've been inviting their neighbors in Canada to join them in the Bahamas.
Come on down. Well, our second unit is for Canadians to come on down, and we've got people on the hook coming for 10 weeks, so we'll be happy to see them.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Virtual learning isn't one size fits all, a psychologist explains when our news returns.
Happy foods, 242, happy foods, 242, food galore just for you. Happy food, 242, food galore just for you. This ain't no talking show, it's an eating show. Sasha Laurel is the host of Happy Foods, 242.
It's been nearly a year since education became virtual for students around the world. Many schools across the Bahamas reopened last week, face-to-face for some, and returned to virtual for others. But it's not one size fits all, according to one psychologist who says students with special needs require more support when transitioning to a virtual learning environment. Here's Christina Dragovich.
We know that the average intellectual level individual can always, with the right resources, catch up a year's worth of work with supports next year or in the summer or whatever the case may be. However, that's not the case necessarily with a child who has learning challenges.
Dr. Major says many children who struggle to learn cannot afford to have gaps because they are already running behind, and virtual learning can pose different and difficult challenges for special needs students and their parents.
In many ways, it's very critical for them to always be faster and getting more so that their brain is continuing to be stimulated and continuing to grow in the right direction rather than stalling it. It is more important at this point that parents are able to invest as they can in ensuring that basic, mastered, and foundational skills are being utilized and given to their child rather than trying to maybe get it all in.
But there are many students who go undiagnosed with learning or developmental challenges. In a typical learning environment, teachers are able to identify and assist students through different methods of teaching. However, that layer of interaction is stripped away in a virtual environment.
How does a teacher then determine their lack of progress? Is that a result of being behavioral? Is that a result of really struggling, right? And so not having that in person allows you not to be able to use strategies to weed that out. And so that in person is very critical to understand the holistic needs of a child, both the social and emotional and learning needs.
So what can parents do? Dr. Major recommends a strong focus on the basics, reading, writing, and math, as students and parents adapt to new learning environments. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. To catch Our News on the go, download the RAB Go Play app. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Jared Higgs. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.